You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Fuel, the podcast that brings you fantastic stories from entrepreneurs and key industry professionals. I am Dave Kiran.
And I am Gelareh and we are educators, entrepreneurs, and your hosts. Innovation Fuel is our weekly business podcast brought to you by University Canada West. Each week, we explore diverse business models, entrepreneur journeys, experts' insight, and managerial challenges, and how companies stay agile and innovative during COVID-19. Check out our episodes at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel.
Hey, Gelareh, what's going on today?
I have a story to tell you, Dave.
Oh, I love stories.
Unbelievable.
Is it about students?
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Yesterday, I asked us a group of students and then sent them to the breakout room and then came out and I said that, okay, you have 3 minutes to present your solution, right? And one of the students said, I don't believe in presentation. Why do you want to do the presentation? I will show it to you. That's fine. It's just a graph. I said, what? Do you want to get a job or what?
Wow, don't believe in presentations? Does she want to get a job? That is the big question because you got to be presenting all the time, eh?
Yes, and sometimes the students are not comfortable to present. They're just comfortable to present in front of the professors. And sometimes, I had some students, they're shaking when they're presenting. It wasn't just in front of their friends and me, and they were shaking. And that is something that everyone should know, that presenting is just not in front of the investors, in front of your manager, in front of your team, in front of the board. And if you cannot present your idea, your report, no one will know you, no one will hire you, and you cannot be promoted. You always can sit in front of the computer and no one can see you.
Exactly. And then you think, well, just think about all these entrepreneurs that have an idea, a concept that they want to get across. Like, if you don't know how to present that idea, who's going to buy into it? Who's going to support you? Who's going to take it to the next level?
And sometimes the pitch should be just in 15 seconds. I'm not minutes, 15 seconds or 30 seconds. You just need to tell me what's your idea, and it has to be very interesting because the people, we are busy, we are more visual these days, rather than, we don't read much. We don't want to send me a document to read it. I just want you to tell me, and you tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
And I need to have a kind of relationship with you because I'm going to work with you. It means it's not just for investor. It's about even hiring someone. You need to build you need to see that, I like this person. I really want to work with this person.
Yeah.
So it's the presentation. It's really important piece of the process of the people trust each other. So we have to take this one. It's very serious. And the last episode that we had with Ingrid Polini, she finished with the accelerators pitch. Do you remember?
Yeah. So we went the last episode again with Ingrid Polini. She talked about this. She talked about the accelerator, and she talked about the pitch in the accelerator. And I think she's come back today to give us a little bit of a story around this and maybe some tidbits on maybe how you might be able to pitch your idea to an accelerator to get it going. Let's get Ingrid in here. Hello, welcome back, Ingrid. Thank you for coming back to us on Innovation Fuel. We're very excited to talk to you about accelerators today. I think that's the topic of the day. Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ingrid. So I think that because you finished with this very good topic about pitch and accelerators, and we didn't have enough time to talk about and have more questions, I think that it's an interesting topic for our audience. So would you explain your experience about how did you find the accelerators?
Of course. Just to circle back, we are being accelerated by 3 programs here in Canada right now. So the first one that we got in was LATAM Startups, and we found them because they're basically a program that is designed in Toronto to bring those technologies from, especially LATAM, but they do have a couple from Asia as well, those startups, and bring them into the Canadian market and teach them how, like, do the all market research. And if you pass through, so you have a boot camp, and then you have a soft landing, and then if you pass that, you get accelerated for this program. And we found that because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that came from Latin America that I know in Canada, and I was trying to find a way. I was like, okay, how can I find this? A program that will understand the needs that I do have a company in Brazil that is successful, and I have to do a spin off here in Canada, but also like completely, I could look at the market and maybe not find anything. Like, I was open for that, right? So I needed some of that process of market fit. And that's what the LATAM Startups help us do. After we got in this program, what LATAM Startups does is that the best talents that they have, so the startups that they choose, they pick a couple of startups, and then they send them to do an interview with the Accelerator Center. So Accelerator Center is in Waterloo, and they're connected with the University of Waterloo, and they're focused on startups for B2B, especially with SaaS. So I was super excited about that. I was like, I need to get to that Accelerator Center because they have a lot of good mentors for my specific kind of company. And that's how we got to that one. Within all of this process, and that's how I say the importance of networking, we met someone that was starting a project with Heather Gamble. Heather Gamble, she is a very big figure in mining, and she started Project Artemis, which is a project specifically to increase women in mining as suppliers. So they basically get all the suppliers, like woman-led startups, and use that and make meetings with us and start presenting those technologies to the mining industry. It's like, look, yeah, you should be thinking about diversity. Here's some very good quality and vetted by us startups that you could be using in your operation. So that's kind of like, it was almost like I got in one and then network my way into the other ones.
So good. I mean, so you said that you have to go, how do you enter them? So, I mean, do you just register for a program? That's how it works?
It really depends on the program. They have, so for example, for LATAM Startups, you have to do a boot camp that you have to register, make a presentation. That's a 2-week. And then you have to do another presentation in the end of 2 weeks to see if you pass. So basically the 2 weeks is to see if you have a market fit or not. And then you pass to the soft landing program that is a 3-month program. And then you have to present again. And after that, they say, you're good to go. You can, like, you will be accelerated by us or no. And then the Accelerator Center, what they do is that you go through a process. So you send all the information. They make an interview with you, maybe a couple interviews. And then you start the process they have phases in their accelerator. So you basically start the process on phase 1 for a couple weeks for them to kind of see where your product fits, and then jump you depending on where you're at the moment.
Okay, so well, you said that you have to have present first, then you can be approved, go to bootcamp. Am I right?
Yes.
So can you a little bit explain your experience about the first presentation that you had?
Of course. I think there's a lot. I've learned a lot with pitching investors and just doing, or like just going to pitch competitions and learning and like not presenting myself, but what did those people show? So there's a lot of content online. It's like, how did big companies like Airbnb, when they were a startup, they were, pitching. How did they pitch? What was the order? There's a lot online that can be found about that. And that's how I kind of constructed my pitch. And depending on the presentation I was doing, or for either other startups, I was like, managers like, oh, actually someone had good response to this kind of template. And then I would change it a little bit to like tailor my pitch. A couple of things that I really worried about was making sure so that we could differentiate from other startups in the sense of we have capital from Brazil that we want to invest in Canada. So it's not that we're just looking for investors. We also have our own capital that we can invest in the Canadian market. as well as we do have the 5 years of experience in a platform that is made. Because a lot of those accelerator programs also get companies that are not, they're still on the MVP stage. So they're still doing their first project. So I just wanted to differentiate in the sense of like, hey, we are a company already. Like I have a product, everything is ready. We just need to see the market fit and then just change a couple things about our product depending on it.
So when would a company approach an accelerator versus an incubation?
Yeah, it really depends on the accelerator program. So there's a difference. There should be some care regarding what kind of program it is, because you have programs. So for example, the accelerator programs I am in, I pay them to be in that program, but they don't take a cut from my company. So they don't take a percentage from my company. Usually incubators, they do take a percentage of your company for incubating you. And I know a lot of them that they don't charge a monthly fee because they take a cut from your company, right? So it's basically investing their time and opportunity in your company. So I think that's one. There's specific programs for everything you can imagine for accelerators right now. I think it needs to be very important to see. So let's say I have a B2B software. If I go to accelerator program that is focused on B2C, they might let me in, but it's not really going to help me. So like trying to find a fit with the accelerator center is more important than just trying to get in whatever you can, right? Because the thing about the accelerator center is the mentorship and help and networking.
And typically, like when you go to an accelerator, how long are you allowed to be in the accelerator? Like, how long is the process? Like, is there a certain time frame where you need to be in and out of this accelerator?
They usually do have time frames. So one of the accelerator programs I'm working with, we are accelerator for 6 months, and then a year after they keep in touch with you to see how you're doing and offering help. There is accelerator programs that it really depends on how much work and effort you put into it and if you pass the next phase or not. So there's usually a time limit because you don't want to be accelerated forever, but you usually spend that time like just focusing on that and then go to the next phase or just keep in touch with them to help. So, but I would say it'll be usually around like 8 months, 10 months that I've seen in the market so far.
So one more thing, it's about, again, back to the pitch. How you've changed in the first pitch of the second pitch, because you said there's 2 pitch you have it. The first one, you for coming to the accelerator, after 2 weeks, you have to do the second one to make sure you're going to the next stage, right? So have you changed in these 2 weeks?
So what I changed was I drew my business plan completely in Canada, so I could say clearly I'm planning to get this many people for the next couple of years. I'm planning to invest that much money. I want to and give them a timeline on how I expected things to do. But the biggest change was that I was able to talk to very influential people because of the networking I had. And then I added their quotes saying how important a platform like mine was in this market. So if you get I talked to, for example, the CEO from one of the biggest property managements here in Canada, and he says, look, I love the software. We don't have anything like that in the market. I would really like to see it going. It's not a proper market research, but it shows potential in the sense you have someone that is a leader saying that something like that could fit in this market.
So you need, for cracking the market, you need an influencer or someone, it's a player in the market, and then tell you that, yes, we need your product.
Yeah. It's more in the sense of trying the best way to understand this market. People are very helpful. They really like to help startups, especially in the environment that I've seen in Canada. So I would contact hey, could I have 15, not even 30, 15 minutes of your time to ask you a couple questions? I'm doing a startup right now. And they would usually say yes, or a couple weeks from now. They're very, very open to help those companies. And then you can say that this and this and this person. It just gives more characteristic, because when you're talking about a B2B product, you can try to do market research online as much as you want. It might not be that effective to do a survey. You might not get those many answers. So using the qualitative method where you can have people hey, I really like this product. It looks amazing, gives a little bit more of a personal touch into the pitch.
So we need boots on the ground. We need to be doing some walking and doing some talking.
Exactly.
And the accelerator, of course, is helping you with that, Ingrid. They're connecting you through a network, I assume, and connecting you to starting that journey.
Yeah, they do connect you with a lot of people. I think it really depends on the entrepreneur to see how much of that they really want to use or not. I have mentors that came from one of the accelerator programs. Then now he checks in with me basically weekly because I asked him to. It's like, hey, can you really mentor me? Because he's a very good contact for me to have. And then for other startups that are not doing that. So they give you the opportunity and then it goes to you to use that opportunity or not to network with those people.
So can you give me, when you're watching all the videos and all the stuff, what you have to see most that is very important to influence your own accelerator to accept you? What do you learn from those what you watch? What is the more, if you can see that this is the 3 factors you always have to keep in your mind, what is it?
I've always heard investors and accelerator leads saying is that drawing the founder's profile, because the software might not be ready yet, but if you see that they have strong founders, they might believe in your product. They might like, okay, the product's still in a like imagining idea, but those founders have a lot of research on this market, or they seem to have a very good product. Like they seem to have a lot of knowledge on this market. That would be important one. So like making the profile of the founders, like done this, this, and this. I think that adding like any clients you had or any pilots, anything that shows that your product works, or research from the market. This is like, oh, this product's not in the market yet, but none of those companies that I see that could be competitors are doing this. And the third one would be financial. So showing that you have perspective of growth. Again, if it's imaginative section, like type of product, trying to find trends. In my case, for example, using the trends that I had in Brazil and using what we say, I don't know if it's the same term in English, but like the crocodile mouth, when you say that like you have like you basically have your cost and then your revenue and then it does like this, like showing that to those people were like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing kind of thing. So using as much data as you have financially wise and like showing that there's stability on the software and that the software works, even if it's in another market, already gives a little bit more strength to the pitch.
So is your co-founder is woman as well?
She is, yes.
She's a woman as well. So in the last episode, you said that your co-founder is a strong, means the people accept her more. Why? Because she's older or what?
So she's older. She has been in the market for 25 years. She is very well known in the Brazilian market. So we really do, and we always have a joke that we don't play with egos. So if we see, for example, we have a client that is a little bit from an older generation, we would usually send her instead of me, because that usually has more acceptance. While if we're talking to accelerator programs or investors, we usually send me, because that's like they like to see the young and professional kind of stuff. It's just they do have a little bit of implicit bias with it, and we just play with that aspect in the sense that she does look older, and she is older for that matter. It just gets it more. They give her more acceptance is not the word, but more respectability in that sense.
Okay, perfect. So, and then you came to your 2 women,
mm-hmm.
right? And you came to Canadian market because they more support of women entrepreneurs. So what do you mean by that?
So, for example, on the program on the Accelerator Center, they have specific talks and specific meetings for the women entrepreneurs. They get the topics that we mostly ask about and make like different potentials for that. There's a lot of grants, even though we haven't taken any, but I know there's a lot of grants for women entrepreneurs in BC and in Ontario. I'm not sure about the other provinces, but those are the ones I'm aware of. There is a lot, like you see a lot of events and a lot of different projects being talked about in a woman and diversity. So I just think that the market is a little bit more mature in that sense.
And more support around associations with women's association groups, and open up to other fellow women and mentorship pieces that you can mentor and vice versa.
Yeah, I would be a little bit careful with associations. There's so many out there, and I would like do is vetting with the people that I know. It's like, hey, do you know this one? Is it a good one? And then getting those peer evaluations. So the mentor associations are a very good way of meeting other peers and having those connections with other women and in depending on the industry. I would just be careful because there's a lot of associations out there for different reasons. So I always get my peers like, "Hey, do you know this association?" Or they would invite me to be part of one. I am a mentor for one of the associations here in Canada, which is the Women in Technology and Communications, and so you can participate on the environment as well, just by being a mentor and having someone mentoring you. It's a very nice way to meet people as well.
That is good. So can you explain a little bit about differences of how society reacts to the women entrepreneurs, especially in technology in Canada, and what's the differences between here to Brazil?
I think that we still, how can I put this? I think that there's still a lot of implicit bias when you have a woman talking about technology that don't necessarily expect you to know the intricacies of your software. Even though, like me as a CEO, if someone, they usually say, "Oh, can I talk to someone from your team that is technical?" And I was like, "Well, you can ask me. If I can't answer, I can bring someone from my team for that." So I think there's still a lot of that. It is different in the sense that I find way less I am able to connect with more people without that bias being an issue, in the sense of like I have a lot of mentors here. I have a lot of new connections, like other startup CEOs that are peers, and they ask me for advice, which is something that is not, it doesn't happen as often in Brazil unless you're like a very big woman in that specific sector. So I think there's more of that sharing and less of that bias being really deep into that.
So again, here it's about talents. So, I mean, you have a company in Brazil and you have another company in Canada, right? So how do you think that defining the talents in those two markets, how do you compare these two markets to have to access the talent that you want in technology?
We have not started hiring here in Canada yet, but I've heard from other companies that they face the same challenges here as we do in Brazil, in the sense of like finding good people with low turnover, right? That's not someone that's going to stay with you for a year and get out. So it's very hard to find specific people for like software development, for example, that would also like to grow with the company. And I can find that I've heard things similar about this market here, and in Brazil we had the same problem. I do have a team in Brazil of developers, and this team is very good, but it took me a while to get that managed.
But this is also becomes a challenge for you too, Ingrid, because you have a very sensitive business and very sensitive around document management. So you have to be very careful on how you go to recruit.
Yes, and it's that's why we don't outsource, for example. So we don't bring other companies to work in our software, even in the procurement and compliance for those companies that we work for. A lot of the questions come into: does anyone has access to your database? Do other companies have access to your database or your information? And by not having that, it creates more of a security system, and for those procurements to go more smoothly in that sense. So that's why we try to recruit in local.
So in local, you mean Brazil?
For now, yes.
Do you have any customer in Canada?
Not at the moment.
No. So do you think that they will be their concern if you're the software developers, it's in Brazil?
There hasn't been an issue. We have a couple clients on the pipeline that I've talked to their IT teams, and that question has not been raised so far. So I think the market is used to platforms being developed in other countries as long as they are within your team, like they are not outsourced in that sense.
Okay. So within your team, so imagine you want to hire someone, not outsource it, but that person is in India, for example. They have experience in document management, but you're going to have a hiring the person. It's going to be your employee. Are you open to that one, or do you think this will be challenging?
I would be open to that as long as they moved to one of our HQs, to be close to one of our HQs.
Oh, so if they want to stay in India, you don't accept it?
Unfortunately not. First of all, because we're already dealing with 2 time zones, and that's challenging enough. I'm in Victoria on the other side of Canada, so it's 6 hours of difference with my team. And second of all, it's hard if that question comes up to my clients, it's hard to explain to them. that I have people elsewhere that are working in the software. If it was like customer service, no problem. But software development, I still see a little bit of a barrier in that aspect.
But they're okay if everything is Brazil in one place.
Yes, because that's our main office. So that's where our all team, we have an office, we have the whole team, we have, all that. So they are more, yeah.
That is quite very challenging for nomad workers, because we have a lot of talents that they don't want to be in the big cities or in the big but they want to be in some places that's cheaper to live better.
Well, even especially now with COVID-19, you have this element where you're kind of limited.
I think that if you talk to big companies that work with software development, they don't encounter the same issues. There is still uncertainty in getting softwares, especially when we're dealing with documents from small companies. So they like to do their due diligence very thoroughly and be very specific about it. So I would say that, I know that Amazon, for example, has a lot of software developers everywhere in the world, and no one complains about their service, right? But when it's about small companies, we have to mitigate anything that could because sometimes what could happen, it never happened to us because we're very careful about it, but that the CEO wants the software, the COO wants the software, all the team wants the software, and then the IT team or the compliance team goes no. So we're just trying to avoid any issues that we can have in contracting. Yeah.
Well, I guess when you look at teams like Amazon, they have millions and billions of dollars to deal with cyber, challenges versus small, medium startups.
And so you brought something really interesting, because we're going to have another episode with IT security person. So question here is, as a person who are going to deal with the people in IT in your client company, so what is the main question they ask from you, and that you have to be prepared for them?
They usually send Excel spreadsheet with at least 5 tabs with around 30 questions each tab, and they usually the same. So within software where the database is, which center we use, if it's anything, and I've heard that from IT security before, and this person will probably be able to tell you more than I do, but for us, if it's anything below Oracle or Amazon, they just don't trust it, because those are the big players for database. For specific for document management, they want something that has matches all the cybersecurity aspects. So it'd be basically database in what language. They ask a lot of questions of who can access the documents, when can they access it, what happens if there's a security breach, backup. So when do we do the backups of our software? There's a lot of those, but those are the main ones that I can remember right now.
Okay. So, and you have to, and this is all in the proposal phase, or no, after that?
So we usually do the proposal, we send it to them, and then if they want to go forward, we have a meeting with the IT teams, and usually multiple meetings, and then that's when this process starts.
Okay, so it's again in the first stage of the proposal, and then after the approval from IT, your proposal will get approved.
No, then you go through a third process where they all talk about it, and then you get the salesperson to negotiate the contract with you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's my question.
Yeah, and how long is that process, Ingrid? How long does that take from going from beginning to end?
It really depends on the company. I've had companies that it took 3 months. I've had companies that took 6. I have a company that has been negotiating with me for 3 years. And we can, every time they call me after a couple of months, they're like, oh, it passed through the next phase. And it's a very long process. It's a very long,
tedious process. Thank you very much, Ingrid. Very awesome again to have you again here on our show. Great information. Love chatting with you. Is there any last bits of words that you want to share with us? Anything we haven't asked you before you depart from us?
Especially about the document management?
I think I would say, so when we were talking about accelerator programs, really doing your homework, really looking for what the accelerator program is looking for and trying to give that on the pitch, as well as being careful if we're talking about technology to meet those procurement and security standards that could just block a deal completely because of one question that you say no and they really need it. So just being careful about those 2 things.
Great. Awesome.
Do you use any IT security consultant, or you just come with your own policy?
We don't have a consultant, though my IT manager has consulting experience, so we developed our policies.
Thank you. The founders, the co-founders, the team is really important. I think that we have the same conversation with Amir Wuhushi, the venture capitals, and many others, that team behind the idea is more important than the idea of the product, right?
Yeah.
Very exciting. Thank you again, Ingrid, for your time today. Loved having you on Innovation Fuel. And I hope that we can stay in touch with you, see how things are growing in Canada. And if we at UCW can be of any support to you, we're giving you any access to anything, resources that I can help you, we'd love to support.
And we have many IT students that have a very good experience in IT and IT security. If you're willing to have internship in your company,
they can contact me on LinkedIn and we can talk about it. I would love it.
Good. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To all entrepreneurs and managers out there, we have ambitious students here at UCW who would love to hear from you and help you with your business through our internship, our capstone program. If you think you have a wonderful story or a challenge that you want to share with our students and our audience that you think they can benefit from, we want to hear from you. We want that information. We want you to be a part of this show. We also want you to join our mentorship program. We've got a great mentorship program to help students as they move on their educational journey towards getting into a career or launching a new opportunity. So reach out to us, connect with us at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel.
You have just listened to the Innovation Fuel podcast with your hosts, Dave and Gelareh. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, or Spotify. Join us next week for another innovative story. Thank you for listening and have a great week.